What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Meaning of Podcast. I am Ace.
This is RB3.
And this is the podcast where we talk about your favorite directors and the deeper meaning within their films. And joining us today, we have another guest. It is my friend, producer, writer, improv star, Rob Roelofs is joining us.
You got the last
podcast.
name right, too. Wow. Thank you for having me.
For those listeners who don't know, I used to work with Rob at this production company that we used to work at. We were both writer, producers of certain TV shows, talk shows that no one watches and no one listens to.
No one still watches. Yeah, I'm still there. So you got out of
You're
line.
still there.
I'm day by day.
I'm not there anymore.
I feel like I shouldn't badmouth it though.
That's a good point. Please do not, Rob, because you have all the. It's a great place.
Yeah.
But I definitely learned a lot there, and this, kind of breaking into the industry. And we've done some stuff, and now I'm, working alongside my brother with some other stuff, and we're doing that. But yes, we did comedy routines, and we did our stand-up specials we would give to other hosts to read. I used to work with on one of my shows. Tiffany was a host of one of my shows, Tiffany Smith, who is now on Becoming Royal.
Yeah, no, I told
on
my
Lifetime.
mom
Go check it out.
I told my mom to record that tonight.
So Tiffany used to work with us too.
Yeah.
She was there
nice.
quite a bit. So that's one of the examples of people we had on our show. But yeah, man, me and Rob, we go back. We go way back at the start of LA.
Yeah, 4 years,
joining in.
Yeah.
And we would talk about movies. Our whole studio was just a fan base of just super hardcore movie nerds. And
we would maybe work 40% of the day, and the other 60% would be movie trivia that we would secretly do on GChat.
And then our Oscar
message.
stuff is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like we do Oscar party. We still do the Oscar parties, and really into like indie movies that we would go see. Like I would hit you up anytime you want to see an indie movie at the ArcLight, because that's the only place that they show it, and that's the only person who would want to go see a movie with me that were indie, tiny independent movies that no one wants to see. But
and also ArcLight's just so great.
I love it. It's the only theater I go. RB3 knows my thoughts.
He complains so much every time.
You try to drag into AMC.
I got the AMC A list, and I'm like, yo, whenever we see a movie Ace, can we please see AMC A list?
And I said okay. And then we went to see Alita Battle Angel.
No, we saw Alita first, and then we saw John Wick. John Wick was worse than Alita.
There's 20 trailers. 20. It is literally 45 or more minutes of trailers. And I'm like, the ArcLight shows 3, and that's it.
And not to be like a curmudgeon, but the ArcLight's price point prices out kids, which like kids should go see movies. That's cool, but like I don't want to be in the John Wick theater with 1,000 high schoolers who are like dicking around on their phones and throwing popcorn at each other.
It's a very snobby theater, and I'm all snobby, bro. I'm a film snob.
Oh man, that's funny.
I'm definitely a film snob. But if you pull the mic closer too, just so we can hear you a little bit more.
No worries.
The reason why I brought you on, man, is because when RB3 mentioned doing a Guy Ritchie episode in honor of Aladdin coming out this weekend, I thought of no other bigger fan than my boy Rob. You're a Guy Ritchie homie. We went to see King Arthur together, and we'll get to King Arthur. But you're a Guy Ritchie fan, and I kind of want to start with that. Why is it? What is it about this man? What is it about his movies that makes you such a fan of him?
So I'll say this. I'm a Guy Ritchie fan because Snatch is my all-time favorite movie. So he gets a pass no matter what he does, no matter what kind of crap he pulls with Madonna or Aladdin or whatever we get into. Snatch is just such a beautifully nuanced heist movie that it's just like perfect from start to finish. And I'm one of those where I like saw it in like late high school, early college, and it's like very much designed for people who are in boys who are in late high school, early college, especially in like the mid to late 2000s. But it just sticks. Like it holds up. It's like, oh god, it's just a perfect movie. We could talk about Snatch for 3 hours.
It's a fun, fast-paced, in-your-face, very masculine-centered,
but also like
over the top movie. But it's still super funny,
and like really well written. And every character has their part, and you like sympathize. Like it's like one of those like where they're all bad guys. They're all generally awful people, and you sympathize with every single one of them. And you want every single one of them to like succeed or like just be a little less bad than the worst bad guy. It's such a smart movie. And that's like all his early movies are like kind of highlighting and praising this like weird underbelly of English poverty and crime. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think that's definitely the way to kind of nail down Guy Ritchie. He has that kind of British gangster slang hood.
Yeah.
What is it? South London kind of vibe going on, and pretty much.
Mate.
Yeah, exactly. or like if you've seen like a movie that I always go back to, like Attack the Block, is it like a modern example of that?
God, yeah.
Where it's like super like it's not just British. It's like British that you can't understand because it's all slang and it's all so
You gotta
fast.
watch that shit with subtitles.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Oh, hey, fuck, mate. You come from talk, bruv. And it's like, what? Oh, tell me, bruv. And they just say bruv every like 5 seconds.
Well, we can jump almost right into Snatch. Is like the thing people know about Snatch is Brad Pitt, the boxer character.
Yeah.
And he is completely indecipherable in the movie, and it's by design because he saw Lock, Stock, which was the movie right before Snatch, and he wanted to be in it. And he was like on his career upswing. He had just done Fight Club, so like the world was his oyster. And he like went to Guy Ritchie. He's like, "Put me in your next movie." He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put Brad Pitt in. That's how I'll sell this film." And he couldn't do a British accent. They wanted to give him the Statham part, the lead part, and he couldn't do like a British accent, a Cockney accent, like even like a jokey like American, like trying to be British, but it sounds like he couldn't do it. But he like could like. He was like, "Hey, try this," and he just spoke in like pure gibberish. And Guy Ritchie was like, "You know what?" And then wrote that character in for Brad Pitt. It wasn't in the original script, and so that's like crazy that it's like the most memorable part of that movie is like almost an afterthought because this huge actor couldn't do any of the other parts.
And I think that's kind of a statement as a whole on Guy Ritchie as a director, because tone-wise, how would you describe Guy Ritchie RB3? Because I kind of feel like his tone almost in every single one of his movies are a little bit like winking at the camera, purposely over the top, in-joke kind of tone.
Yeah, I mean, it's very comedic. He has very comedic
But not just comedic,
style.
But like almost like, we know what
Like
we're
self-aware,
doing. Self-aware
meta.
meta, slightly. In almost all of his movies.
A little bit, yeah. I think his style really speaks to that as well. It's very, I keep using the word on this podcast, meta-modern, you know what I mean? Like
meta-modern,
meta-modernism, you know what I mean?
Did you read that article about the meta-modernism of the new wave of movies?
This is a fun new word. I like it.
Yeah, it's a new word they've been using.
The examples they used was like 22 and 21 Jump Street.
Yeah, Lego Movie.
Yeah. Spider-Man.
Deadpool. Like, a lot of the movies are becoming like very self-referential.
It's like winking at the camera, but you let the audience know that you're winking at the. It's very like.
Well, even on a dramatic level, Logan is an example of that
but
too.
it's even used in a way.
John Wick is
a perfect example of it, where it's still set in a setting where you can still have dramatic tension in a meta world. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very like a combination of so many different elements.
Well, it's also like taking like the forms and the tropes of whatever that genre piece is and undoing them or commenting on them or like. Yeah,
that's Tarantino's whole thing. Is like he is the filmmaker that kind of is one of the, I guess, forefronts of that, because you know how they have the whole. In film school, they have the whole thing of like, oh, like the postmodern era is from like 1977, but they don't really define it after that point. They're just like, oh, here's like the classical era, the modern era, postmodern era, and then like they just have that, you know. Like, but I guess the meta-modernism thing is like a new way of defining.
I think it's now,
post 90s, like kind of, you know.
I think this is what we're seeing now. But yeah, how would you describe what is his style? What is his? Because I think something that we do on the Meaning Enough podcast, and as someone who's first time being on here, is trying to nail down his thematic message, his thematic style, his thematic branding throughout all his movies, because every director has like a handprint or a watermark on every single one of their movies. What is his watermark?
I mean, from a purely like existential kind of like, and I mean this is a compliment, he's so good at action for action's sake. He's such like an action appreciatist and fan, and he like does like these like crazy action sequences without any more substance than, oh, it's just crazy action. And he like has all these like very interesting camera moves. He like pioneered the like slow motion like Like, I mean, it was like right on
the
the
speed ramping.
Right on the heels of
ramp.
like the Wachowskis doing the like bullet time. He like took that and kind of, like you said, winked at it and like made it like doing bullet time, but like things that don't need to be in bullet time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll talk about it, but like he did that so hard in the Sherlock Holmes, the two Sherlock Holmes movies. Where it's just like a detective, like a goofy little detective, but like why can't he just be like a bare knuckle boxer for no reason? And like that like plot point doesn't ever inform the story ever again, but like I think
a lot of what he does is he uses the camera to let you know what he's trying to laugh at, I guess, is for lack of a better way of saying it. He's like, because there's things like, if you watch, I've watched The Bachelor, for example, with my mom.
Well, thanks for coming out, man.
Yeah.
I know, exactly. That's the show, guys.
We're here for
no,
you.
it's awful and it's terrible. And every time I watch it, I feel awful. But they are very self-aware of what they are, and in all their dates, the camera guys are having a blast. And I always tell my mom, like, man, these guys are having so much fun, because they are. There's scenes where like they follow like a rose flying in the sky, and it's like very B-movie type stuff. But that's kind of what Guy Ritchie does on a different level, where he's doing a scene, like you said, where the camera doesn't need to move a certain, but he moves it in a very like over the top, like a crazy zoom or something like that, where it's letting you know this is kind of funny. Like what's happening on screen is serious, but the way the camera's moving, it's like it's kind of goofy too.
Yeah, it's
funny.
It's expressionist. You know? It's like the camera's expressing the kind of tone that the movie wants to go for. Like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. The one scene where you first meet the main criminal guy, the black dude, and just like does this like really intense pan, and it's like it's so funny because you just know the actor waited until the guy Ritchie was behind the camera was like, okay, now say the line, you know? Like, it is so obvious. But it's intentional. It's supposed to express like that over the top, you know, serious gangster kind of like aesthetic. You know?
And this is like also. It's not exclusive to Guy Ritchie films, but it's very interesting. I notice it. It's most British films. All the people, even like the criminals, sound and speak way smarter than me. So it's true. Like so weird. Where it's like I saw this in one of the Sherlock Holmes, because I just watched it recently for the podcast. It's like a homeless like sailor like comes out and like someone says something like mildly clever, and he's like, "Oh, sounds like someone's got a sense of humor, but only a sense." And it's like that's like poetic and beautiful, but like this like grungy guy is saying it, and like that's like in all his movies. Like these British guys are like these gangsters have like these like thoughtful moments where they like point out really specific things about each other that like of course no one who's in that actual world would even give. Like they would just go, "You're stupid," and it's like, "Well, you're dumber than a rock on a Tuesday," and it's like what does that even mean? But it's like so
you can tell that's a lot of improv. Well, Guy Ritchie is known for letting his actors improv. Like he, even in like pretty much all his movies, they have certain improv moments that you know are improv scenes, and I think that's them on set literally being pushed to have fun. Like, hey, dude, just have fun, just goof around.
They know,
and
all
he
the
captures that
on
camera, because I feel like Guy Ritchie in every single one of his movies is having fun, is being a goofball in some sort of way. Even if it's like a serious movie, he's still having some sort of fun with him. But let's kind of move into, I kind of want to start, I'm going to burst the bubble. I'm going to start it out. I'm
the
start
least
out with
Guy Ritchie movie ever made.
The least Guy Ritchie movie ever, and then we can move on, just because I have to rant about it. And that's Aladdin. And by rant, I mean love this movie. This movie was incredible. And the reason why it was incredible, and it's crazy because I really do think of it, because I'm someone who's like aspiring film critic or whatever. And at the same time, it's so hard for me to like review this movie as a film critic, because it's just a giant, you know, remake of the original 93, 92? 92 animated movie. And I loved every second of it. As soon as Will Smith is, you know, spoilers for anyone who's you know, hasn't seen the movie, but it's not really spoilers, because if you've seen the animated movie, you've seen the movie.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Will Smith starts singing Arabian Nights, and he starts like, the camera is doing the oneer across Agrabah, and then you hear Arabian Nights, and I'm like, I'm in. I'm in. Like right away, I was in, and I was like, "This is one of my favorite movies of the year already."
I'm going to say this right now. You can love or you can hate Aladdin. Fine. It's so stripped of everything that makes Guy Ritchie films Guy Ritchie films.
I disagree.
It doesn't use any of his cinematic tricks.
There's a ton of them.
No, there's not.
When Abu is jumping around, and when
there's like little
when he pushes him off the edge of the building.
There's like
the
little
slow-mo.
moments of the like slow-mo.
You know what I'm talking about?
But he had
Well, see, that's Guy Ritchie. You know what? I think
you can correct me if you're wrong. But I like with a notepad was like trying to pay attention, especially to that sequence in the beginning, which was I thought like where Aladdin singing the
one jump ahead, yeah,
one jump
ahead,
like that's like
step.
pure Guy Ritchie is like praising and showcasing like thievery and like the good side and the bad side of it, and you have all these like moments of like going in, going out, and then there's like nothing. It's just like the camera follows as Aladdin parkours. Like it's not. Well, it's not Guy Ritchie.
It's very. I know. I
100%
agree. Like I feel like it's one of those things of like a director having a style and then having to explain that style to like giant studio executives, and they're like, okay, like you can't do this, but we'll have you. We'll let you get one slow motion shot in there. You know what I mean?
You think it's heavy studio notes?
Oh yeah, 100%. Are you kidding me?
It's Disney.
But it's also polished too. I feel like they have those. They have like one moment that I thought was really funny where the genie kind of had his telescope and then he pulled it out and he zoomed out. Yeah, and he sees his eyeball. And I think that's almost a Guy Ritchie thing. If there's like 100 CGI artists behind making that shot happen,
but,
you know.
But I don't think that's relevant. I feel like just because it's CGI doesn't
no.
mean it's still,
and you know,
it's
actually,
still direction.
I applaud this
Animation
movie.
is still.
I do applaud this movie a lot more than a lot of Disney live action movies because it had a lot.
Come to my side.
It had a lot less.
RB3.
I feel like it might have been a Guy Ritchie thing. It had a lot less CGI than I was expecting it to have. You know, at least in that big dance sequence that Will Smith had,
which was great.
Sequence,
I don't know. I thought this movie was fun. It's a musical, so it's very over the top. It's very huge. And people go into dance numbers.
It's not
and
even that over the top, though. It's not like
in the sense of like the tone. Like it's a musical tone. It's very much like. This is a musical, and we're gonna go into song whenever we feel like going into song.
But they hardly go into song, and then we already talked about this, and the world agrees that like the new original song that Jasmine sings is like whatever.
Oh my
God, you guys are wrong. Speechless is on my playlist. I have that shit on repeat.
It is a good song, and it is a really nice moment where she takes agency over herself. And so I'm gonna make a confession because this might like. This probably needs to come out. I haven't seen the original Aladdin. I haven't seen a lot of the original Disney animated classics. I grew up on Comedy Central half hours and my parents having two jobs. So I
I grew up on Disney animated movies all the way through.
So I like didn't really have like that childhood attachment to. Right. So, but I do know the story of Aladdin. Sure. I saw at Disney. Land for a long time. I think it's been replaced with Frozen, but they did like a stage show.
Oh, that's right, the musical.
Aladdin. It was like a 45-minute truncated version, but it probably hit all the.
Have you seen the musical, the Broadway musical?
I've seen the Broadway musical.
There you go.
And so I know the story.
Sure.
And I know the music.
This takes a lot from the in a little. Well, not a lot. Well, it kind of takes a lot from the actual music. Have you seen? You haven't seen the musical.
I haven't seen the musical, and honestly, I've probably seen the original movie maybe twice.
I was gonna say I've seen it probably like 100 times.
Yeah, so I think like that's why you're like so in love with it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it is in kind of like my understanding of it. It seems like it is a too true representation and redubbing of that movie,
almost beat beat by beat. There's a few story elements that are like. The genie and homegirl from SNL is a completely
that's all
Guy
new.
Richie.
And then that like sequence on the boat.
What the fuck? That was
okay,
so that's my thing. Like, it's like if you're gonna,
I thought she was great.
No, if you're gonna divert from the story,
the scene.
I don't give, man. If you're gonna divert from the story, like at least make it entertaining. Like everything.
It was entertaining.
No, everything. Like how's there an action sequence happening, and then literally like in the end when spoiler alert, I guess, but like it's the original movie. Like when Jafar is like messing with when he has the genie stuff and he has the sorcery powers and he's like causing pain to like the main king or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and then he's causing
The
pain
Sultan.
to the Sultan, and then he's causing pain to the handmaid, and you cut to a CGI Will Smith like, oh no! I'm like, yo, what?
Also, not
That's
that this is
amazing.
like a factor you should think of, but that actress Nassim
Nassim,
Pedrad
yeah.
who was amazing on SNL. She's a really funny,
And she's amazing in this movie.
she's very funny. So out of Will Smith's league. Like to me, apparently the love interest of Will Smith.
Yeah.
Like get Jada to be in the movie.
I disagree with that.
I don't know.
I wouldn't cool have Jade in there.
No, I like.
I'm
I
just
thought
saying
she was a
it's
great.
just like a weird move to like.
I think she
didn't
was a
have any
great
chemistry.
element. I don't know. I agree with that. They didn't have any chemistry, yes, but I thought that she was so big that I loved it. I was like, she's great.
Oh, so that's my thing. Like I said, I'm barely familiar with Aladdin. I'm barely. When Beauty and the Beast came
This
out,
is coming from us. I love. You know how hard I go for Disney. Disney is like my life. And this is my favorite Disney movie, so that's like times 10. I love Aladdin to the core.
Well, see. But for me, it's like the things that they added to both Beauty and the Beast, because I barely care about Beauty and the Beast too. We did it in high school. We did it in high school. I was in drama class, and then literally, that was my first time watching the movie was for that. So I'm like, I don't know. I feel like the things that they add are just. They add them for the sake of adding them and not without really incorporating any story around it.
I had this conversation with Wendy, a friend of ours, outside the studio last week about Beauty and the Beast, the new live-action remake. You know what's so funny?
Yeah.
That song that the Beast sings is one of my favorite Disney songs, and it's a completely original for the live-action movie. I love that song, bro.
I don't know,
you know which one
man.
I'm talking about?
I only saw
The one that he
movie
sings
once,
from
man.
the tower, the Beast sings.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
she'll
yeah.
never leave me. I love that damn song. Like, to me, all the things they add to this movie to make it extra musical and extra, all that stuff to me is just great. I want to see more of it. I love seeing new songs. I love seeing new elements.
Yeah, it just threw me out. And like, and I don't know, were there songs in Aladdin that weren't in this movie, or did they like hit all the songs? There were songs in Aladdin.
Speechless. It's the one that she sings.
No,
Jasmine.
no. In the original animated movie, is there any songs in that weren't
they didn't sing? No, not that I know of. I think they sang them all. Prince Ali.
There's like 5 songs.
Yeah,
Well,
no.
There's not that many songs.
And then I literally, when
Friend
the
Like
Speechless.
Me, Prince Ali, Whole New World, One Jump Ahead. I think that's all of them.
No, literally, when the Speechless song came on, I had to pull up my phone. I was like, "Yo, is this even in the original movie?"
No,
like,
no.
I just literally could not
I
understand
thought it
where
was
that
great.
came from. And then, but
You see,
yeah,
but this
upon
is the
looking
thing,
it up,
like,
only the first half of the original movie
I
has
was
music
listening
in it.
to shout out to the Ringer guys from Big Picture, and they were talking about how they had to do something with. They can't keep 1992 Jasmine, like as progressive as 1992 Jasmine is. She
she
does not.
progressive?
That's what I'm
She's
saying. Like
not.
slightly, but they had to update her to make her like. Let's not make Jasmine just an object to
Straight
be
up,
won.
the only thing I liked about the movie was that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like they had to do that.
Like,
There's no
slightly
way.
woker version of like.
They had to do that because you can't just keep Jasmine as like, oh, the super hot Arab girl. Like, no, you can't do that.
And it didn't even bother me that like she still ended up with the guy because I thought that was like a night like she made that own choice.
Yeah.
It like the song is still
The song
just comes out
itself,
of nowhere.
it just gotta be,
it's like so weird.
The song itself, and then the way they shot it.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my
That
god,
was like-
the
It's
a
Wednesday-
wonder.
The wonder with on a green screen. It's
a cool wonder.
She was walking on a treadmill.
The guys were
behind the green
disappearing.
screen.
They just turned into dust, bro.
Yeah,
They got
nah.
Thanos snapped.
It was like everything around it. I do agree though. Like that is probably one of the better parts of it is the updated stuff to it.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind Will Smith as the genie.
I didn't mind Will Smith. I thought he was
Will Smith is great, very charismatic.
yeah, fun.
I don't like the fact that black
Big.
dude got to be a
Why?
slave.
That's straight
basically,
from the-
no, but he got to be
That's-
like the slave of the genie.
No,
And it's like,
that's not
can I
the-
get my freedom, please? Like
That's not the intention. Like,
that's how it came off to me, man.
I think this is more like, again, I keep going back to the guys from the Big Picture, but they said it best. This is very much like the Broadway musical. That guy, I don't know his name, but he's great.
and I saw the
And
original one in LA.
he's
yeah.
very,
he's really,
very-
He's also a black guy.
Yeah,
okay,
and he's a
yeah.
very sassy kind of makeover. The Big Picture guy said like almost the Queer Eye kind of where it's like a makeover movie.
Yeah.
Where they're also like a life coach. Where they're just like, come on, honey, like you got this. Like Jasmine, come on, look at that face. Like that's kind of the role he's playing. I loved it. I thought it was like,
He
this
definitely
is
took-
a different genie. It's a different genie.
Was this is just like a weird thing I noticed. And is this in the original? Every time Will Smith is the genie, like the CGI genie, he's like working out or flexing.
Yeah.
Like, is that like a thing? Is like the Robin Williams genie like super buff and he's always like
no, he's not always working out, but yeah, he is like
there's like that whole weird sequence where he's like lifting weights. You're like, what are you doing? Why just talk to the kid? It's so noticeable.
He does that. He does that
weird.
a few times, and he does a scene where he impersonates Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think that's kind of where it came from, where he's like, it was very coming in 1982. It's very like pumping irons Arnold. So he's impersonating him.
I do wish they would have had a little more of the like pop culture references that the original Aladdin had. You know?
I don't know, because I was thinking the same thing. Like I was gonna say, like, is he gonna reference Drake or something? Like, is he gonna do something so pop culture that it takes you out of the movie? Because he did a few.
Man, with the dances. Oh, what are those?
Are you kidding me? The dances was the best part.
Breakdown. Yeah, that was a little wacky.
Man?
You didn't like the dances?
Nah, man.
Oh my god,
that was ridiculous.
I loved it. I thought it was a perfect element of like, obviously hip hop hasn't been invented, but they're still doing hip hop dances in the Middle East. I thought that was the coolest thing. I loved it. I thought it was a great way for Mehmet Massoud to show off his dancing skills.
Are they
He's a great
supposed to
dancer.
be Egyptian or some sort of like Saudi Arabian?
It's supposed to be Arabia,
pseudo-
Saudi Arabia.
okay,
yeah, because I mean the song's Arabian Nights. Yeah, it's supposed to
Because
be.
I couldn't
like,
figure out if they were like supposed to be like Indian, Egyptian.
No,
Like they kept
Saudi Arabia, but they have. But that's the thing; they borrow from all of them, and they also have
which is
actors
fine.
from all of it. It's
Sure,
fine.
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I think it's
It could be
perfectly
ambiguous. It
fine.
could be
Even some of the
ambiguous.
language is a little bit of
Yeah, it's a fantasy
Pakistani,
movie,
a little
yeah.
bit of Egyptian, a little. I thought it was perfect. It's like this perfect blend of like all the different cultures in the Middle
East.
East.
And they did sure do a great job of like the diverse casting.
Yeah, the casting's great, man.
Because I remember when they announced that they were doing it, I like heard the eye rolls on Facebook of like, oh great, we're gonna get
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. And,
My girl, Scarlett Johansson.
and I don't know if they had intended this from the beginning or as a reaction to that, but they went out of their way. The cast is like
I think
entirely.
we have to talk about that because it's very important to get that accurate representation of Middle Eastern casting, because RB3, and I'm sure you agree with me on this, because it allows studios like Disney to make big movies and to give these different elements of different actors that have different nationalities to say, hey, look, we can be in $100 million movie. We can be in a big budget, you know, blockbuster, box office, whatever it is. I think it's important to have that, and I think they're going to have the same success next year with Mulan, which is an all Asian cast, not starring Scarlett Johansson.
Did have to, and I think it was the right choice. They did have to have a huge star attached, and the huge star that got attached was Will Smith, which is again a person of color who like,
and it's also perfect because it's the genie. It's something that's not part of that world. It's very otherworldly in the animated movie. He's a genie. He's a magical being. He's not supposed to be some sort of representation of a culture. But at the same time, I think this is the only good thing for someone like an RB3 who's not a fan of these live action remakes, that they're sticking to Mulan is going to be an Asian girl and it's an actual Chinese actress.
Are they going to get a big star? Do they have a big star that they can get?
It's a young up and coming Chinese like China. She's from China. She's a Chinese actress who's playing Mulan. So it's not an American Chinese.
That part's
actress.
But she's probably a big star in China though.
She probably is. She's probably huge in China.
But like, are they going to get like a name attached? Do you know? Like, even if it is like a genie, like you don't think they
so,
are? Because I don't know Mulan either.
We can look. Oh, Mulan is like. My second favorite Disney movie. It literally goes a lot.
Man, they should get who's homegirl, Lucy Liu. Oh, they got Jet Li in this. Oh, they got Jet Li. Come on, man, they got Jet Li.
So they
have Donnie Yen,
the biggest Asian stars that exist.
They got Donnie Yen.
But in one of those cases, it's good to see that if they're going to take these stories, at least they have those castings.
Well, you know what I do like?
Where's Eddie Murphy in this movie, man? God damn it! Sorry, what you saying?
I don't know if this is pandering. I don't think it is. But I do like that for The Lion King, the two leads are Beyonce and Donald Glover.
Oh yeah,
which is
100%.
like a real smart move.
Well, yeah, they got it. I mean, it's like there's no black Disney original animated movies
Yes, there
besides
is. What's
Princess
it?
and the Frog. That's
I was
the only
gonna say.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the Latino one?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we
don't
haven't
have
gotten
Latino
it. Yeah,
princess.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I was thinking about it yesterday because they were talking about Disney princesses, and I was like, we still don't have a Disney princess that's Latina. We don't.
Well, the one,
don't.
the
Got
one.
Moana. It's different.
Moana
Just
is
kidding.
not.
Yeah, they're gonna make that movie live action in a couple years too.
Yeah,
Probably
straight up.
Not
Wait till the
Polynesian.
live action Frozen too.
Yeah.
Live action Frozen's coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but the fact that they don't have Princess and the Frog, that they didn't even really care about that movie when they were making it.
That's
because
true.
that was the transition that Pixar was starting to take over the Disney brand or whatever.
She's in the magical Mickey Mouse show.
Yeah, she was in Wreck-It Ralph 2 as well.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But I don't know, man.
I think either way, it's one of those things where you can see for someone who doesn't really care for them and calls this unoriginal and lack of interest, like you, RB3, can say at least the Lion King casting. That's like pretty much like almost an all black casting. Like there's a lot of black actors. What's up?
And Seth Rogen.
And at the same time, you still have like Mulan that's coming out, which is great. I think it's a great opportunity for diversifying film in a very big way.
Well, Lion King, the like B players are all, it's like John Oliver, Billy Eichner, Seth Rogen. But like it's Chiwetel Ejiofor Scar, and then it's Beyonce and Childish.
James Earl Jones is coming
back as Mufasa.
Donald Glover.
That's the only. Side note, that's the only Disney movie I have seen.
Yeah,
so that's why I know at least
that's gonna be great. No, it's gonna be great, and I think Mulan's gonna be great too. I mean, I think the biggest thing they kind of have to worry about, I feel like, is the sake of being redundant. You know, like if we're gonna come in, I mean, for me, like I kind of see Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin as like the exact same. You know, but I never know. I mean, maybe. Lion King is going to be more similar to Jungle Book, which I enjoy Jungle Book more than I enjoy Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast. Or it might be, I mean, again, I should have seen Dumbo. I don't know. I feel bad for not seeing it because we did a podcast about it.
We promised we would see Dumbo.
I did. I saw it.
How was it?
How was it?
It's fine.
But is it more of a Tim Burton movie or is it more of a Disney movie?
It's, and I don't have a frame of reference, so I don't know what happened in the original, but my understanding is nothing that happened in this movie happened in the original. It's like a completely new original take. Because I think in the original there's no humans. Like this one, it's like so heavily human, and Dumbo is like the only like. It's good. It like looks like a Tim Burton movie, which is cool. Yeah. It does have perhaps the craziest like celebrity cameo that I've ever. And I'll ruin this for you.
Ruin it.
But like. It happens twice. When they're like doing the Dumbo show, Michael Buffer comes out and goes, "Let's get ready to Dumbo!" Twice.
I think that's
it's insane.
That's funny. That's
I think that's in the trailer.
Because I don't know who that reference is for. It's
not for the kids.
But like it's for like people who grew up in
MMA fans. It's for the people in 1941.
Fans.
It's for the people who saw it in 1941 in theaters, man. That's who they got.
I was gonna say it's for the UFC fans. The crossover between UFC and Disney animated Dumbo. That's funny, but
yeah, I think the way they prevent this from being super redundant, I think it's already redundant at this point. That they have 3 of them coming out in a year at least. They could at least space it out a little bit. I think for 1, space it out. I think for 2, not keep making the same movie over and over again. And I think 3, if they keep doing the reverse thing. I mean, I know Aladdin had a lot of issues before it was being made about they couldn't find people of color extras, like they were having a problem with extras. There's things about brown face, that kind of scared me. But watching, I mean, again, like I kind of changed my tune a little bit when I saw the big Will Smith scene, him dancing. The singing's horrible. They should have got somebody else to
they should have gotten to dub it over.
But
he did release an original song for the
with DJ Khaled.
Oh boy, I don't know about that.
I'm here on the Aladdin soundtrack.
Here's a fun aside. I looked this up. In 1999 or something, Guy Ritchie was at the MTV Movie Awards, and Will Smith was performing Wild Wild West because it had just come out. And he rode out onto the stage on a real horse, and the horse stepped on Guy Ritchie's foot and broke his foot.
Oh, shit.
And that's the only, like, correlation to Will Smith and Guy. So, like, first day of shooting, like, do you think he was like, hey, by the way, we're going to take $1 million off your budget for my foot?
Yeah.
You think he pulled that move?
That's funny.
What's funny, too, is is I think Will Smith told the story. I was listening to a couple of interviews where he said that when Mena Massoud, the kid who's playing Aladdin, well, kid, he's my age, who's playing Aladdin, came up to Guy Ritchie and Will Smith when they were having a conversation. So Guy Ritchie and Will Smith were talking, and Mena Massoud came up, and he just stood next to them, apparently, and was just like, "Hey guys, what's up?" And he was like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And he, like, interrupting their conversation, and he just stood there. And Will Smith was like apparently like super put off because he's like, "Who the hell is this extra just standing next to me, just like listening to our conveation between me and the director?" And he like apparently did not even realize like that's the star of the movie, Aladdin. And Mena Massoud was like, "Hey, by the way, I'm playing Aladdin." He's like, "Oh, dude," because I was just about to call security over here to get this extra out of here because he thought it was like an extra.
It is also crazy that I just don't know how Hollywood, but Will Smith is top billed. And not like a or with or featuring.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like he's obviously the highest paid actor in that movie by far, but it is like weird that he's top billed.
Yeah. Well, I think Robin Williams was top billed for Aladdin too.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah, I think he was
then maybe
top
that
billed
makes
for
sense.
It's the Harrison Ford effect too in The Force Awakens because Harrison Ford in The Force Awakens
He's the only star in that. Yeah, but
he got bank on that movie.
Did you watch the new Lizzie Ellison video? Or Lizzie Ellis video? There's this film critic on YouTube.
Oh yeah, did she do an Aladdin
talked about Aladdin and
she
how
hates Aladdin.
Well, no, she doesn't hate Aladdin, but she was talking about how Robin Williams got ripped off because of
and he refused to do any marketing for Disney, and so Disney as like almost an FU. I don't know if you can pull it up, but like the original poster for Aladdin is just the genie.
Yeah,
it's just the genie coming out of the lamp, and it's Disney's Aladdin, and it has Robin Williams in a huge letterhead over the top of that. Yeah, I don't know if that's how you have your podcast.
Yeah, well, we can do it in post.
Everyone at home, go look up original Aladdin poster. It's just the genie.
That's crazy. Well, either way, guys, we have to move on eventually because we got 10 minutes left to talk about Guy Ritchie's career.
It's like epic and eclectic.
Let's just jump around, just because I kind of want to. I'm gonna steer the ship back to Guy Ritchie, and let's go to Snatch, man. Let's jump straight to Snatch.
No, not Lock, Stock, and Two Barrel.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, but I'm saying like we can dabble. We can do a little dabbling.
Snatch is dope, man.
Snatch has a crazy. Let's start out with the cast, man. This cast is crazy. I mean, Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt.
Statham's second movie. His first was Lock, Stock.
Yeah.
So like,
made him a star.
He made him a star.
He made Jason Statham a star. I was watching the behind the scenes of Snatch. Have you guys seen that? It's on YouTube. And it's crazy to think that like that vibe he has, because the making of Snatch, the first thing you see is Jason Statham and Guy Ritchie like talking and debating about this movie. And Jason Statham is just being an asshole the whole time.
Yeah.
And in a very like, I'm Jason Statham, I'm a fucking asshole. Like he's doing it in a funny way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I realized, I think Guy Ritchie saw that and he was like, I like this guy's kind of rough and gruff, gritty British dude, beat the shit out of you kind of attitude that he has in real life, like an actual Jason Statham, not as an actor. And he's like, I can make this guy who's already a character into a character in my movie, and that's kind of the idea he had with him in Snatch, and in obviously the first movie he did with him. But the cast is crazy, man. I mean, shout out to Lenny James, who plays Saul in this movie, and he's in The Walking Dead.
Dennis Farina, is that dude's name, who plays the American?
Dennis Farina, Vinnie Jones, Brad Pitt, Jason Statham, Alan Ford. It's a stacked cast, man. I mean, this is also kind of Vinnie Jones's. I mean, obviously he's kind of like a side character.
Also in Lock, Stock.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like his connection with Guy Ritchie. Is kind of that thing he has.
Yeah, because he did have like a kind of like any like auteur director, like you have like your cast of characters, you have your like ensemble piece.
I think the first thing that stands out with this movie, and I think some other YouTuber did a video on this, the dialogue in this movie is what's that? What they don't call it mumble? What is it called? Mumblecore.
Mumblecore.
It's not quite mumblecore, but it's like that kind of element of like crazy, ridiculous dialogue that this has.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
I mean, it's just extremely quirky. I mean, I think that's kind of the hallmark that kind of comes with Guy Ritchie's kind of style, is that the characters could just kind of have a conversation about anything.
Yeah.
In the middle of being in the heist, or in the middle of like planning something, they'll just go off and drift off and talk about whatever.
It's almost like a British, and I know I'm a lot of people are going to be pissed about me saying
British
this.
audience
I bet I know what you're about to say.
A British version of Tarantino.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
a lot of people
he
like
definitely
that
inherited that, like, because this is after Reservoir, it's after Pulp Fiction, it's after Jackie Brown. So it's like
it's a British version of Tarantino.
Yeah.
Where, you know, it's known for the dialogue, and it's known for the crazy, quippy, quirky, bad mouth, kind of, you know, potty mouth dialogue.
And then also like them talking about things that aren't exclusively the heist, like you just said. Like
that's very Pulp Fiction. I mean, that's, you know, something that really stands out. What do you think of the dialogue that Guy Ritchie has in all his specifically Snatch?
So funny. I mean, I think it's great. I think that probably is one of the things that adds to the flavor of like the guy. And he's, again, let's remove Aladdin from the equation. He's successfully kept that in every one of his films up to that point. Yeah. Like King Arthur.
Even King Arthur,
which will, like, King Arthur is like such a great, because it's like takes place in like whatever medieval times when King Arthur, but they're all speaking like they're talking about like we're gonna get the Excalibur and we're going to stick it in a just
I got
like
you,
that.
bro. And it's like,
got
did
you,
bro exist in medieval times? It doesn't matter.
But even like The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which is not a real British thing. God, who it's Cavill, and who's the other guy? Is it Hardy?
Amy
Adams.
Armie Hammer.
So Armie Hammer, who's the has like the weird like British affect with Hugh Grant. Like they have like a back and forth that's like so just like every other Guy Ritchie movie.
Exactly. I think it's great. I think it's one of. I mean, obviously, we can jump around in all his movies now, but Sherlock Holmes, the dialogue in that movie is ridiculous because it's the over the top, super smart guy who's talking in super phonetic, you know, crazy, poetic kind of ways of telling you a very smart. It's the ideal like smart guy talk in a very Sherlock Holmesy, over the top kind of way.
Well, it's crazy,
and it's Downey Jr. doing it. Who's the best at? Who's better than Downey Jr.
Well, it's coming right
at
after
crazy,
Iron Man,
smart ass dialogue.
Yeah,
he's the best.
I mean, are you gonna say something?
Oh no, I was gonna say it's right after Iron Man, so it kind of makes sense.
It was like the next film he did. It was 2009 with Sherlock Holmes. So it was like, like Robert Downey Jr. went Iron Man, Tropic Thunder, Sherlock Holmes. Like,
what a trilogy! What a trilogy!
Like dude,
he get an Oscar for all of them. Honestly,
give that man an Oscar, bro. Give him a damn Oscar, even if it's a career Oscar, because that's what it is. Give him a career Oscar, just for Endgame, dude. Do it for Endgame. Yeah. Like, get him a nomination off that shit. I'm on board for that. I know a lot of people are like rolling their eyes at like, oh, Robert Downey Jr. for Endgame. Not me. I'm like,
I think he deserves it.
Let's do it.
If Ian McKellen could get a Gandalf,
that's what I'm saying.
Nomination,
come on,
like, you could at least throw this guy a bone.
But it's that very like super fast. Over the top.
What I was gonna say is like when I was young, I saw this movie like in theaters. I remember when I first saw this movie, it came out December of like 2009. It also came out around the time of one of my other favorite movies, ding ding ding, Avatar.
Oh yeah, you love
Avatar, which a lot of people hate.
I like Avatar. Yeah, man. You know, I'll stand by it.
Yeah, but it was crazy because me and my mom usually see movies on Christmas. So like the day we went to the theater, I was like, yo, we gotta see Avatar, and then that was gonna be my first time seeing it, but they're all sold out. Like so then instead of seeing Avatar, I went to see Sherlock Holmes. So ever since then, I've been a fan of that movie, and I have always been familiar with like the Sherlock Holmes like kind of character based on that movie and the sequel. But it really wasn't until I watched the Sherlock show with Benedict Cumberbatch is when I really understood that, oh no, because there's so much that carries over, even though they're like different adaptations. Like there's so much characteristics wise that carries over.
It's a classic character.
Yeah, it's a classic character. It's a classic setup, and I think it's the character in and of itself. I mean, that's why Doctor Strange and Iron Man are basically the same person, because the characters that both Benedict and Robert Downey Jr. play the same guy, and Rachel McAdams is in Doctor Strange too, which is weird.
And Jude Law is in Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel,
the three leads in that are in the MCU.
It's
just absorbing everything.
It's the Guy Ritchie universe, man. But I mean, let's go to Sherlock Holmes, because.
then also, I mean, you said you just watched it.
Yeah, the Sherlock. Yeah,
It's the bad guy in that is Mark Strong.
Mark Strong.
Oh, that's right.
Which is like
yeah.
a great choice, and like I was like, oh, he should be a bad guy, and then I saw Shazam, which I mean, I have opinions about.
Yeah.
They're probably more like my opinions because I would not like that movie.
I did not like Shazam. But I was like, oh, I'm glad Mark Strong is playing a bad guy. He should only play bad guys because I'm used to his like Kingsman.
I was gonna say I low key like him in Kingsman.
I think
we
he's
saw
great in
Kingsman together, and I was like, Mark Strong was like my favorite part of that movie. I love Mark Strong.
He's great.
Matthew Vaughn, that connection too. I mean,
I was just gonna. Are we gonna bring that up?
Yeah,
because I mean, Matthew Vaughn, famously his producer.
Yeah,
and so Ritchie was supposed to direct Layer Cake, but I think he was with the sequel of Sherlock Holmes. He was doing something where he couldn't, and Matthew Vaughn didn't want to direct. And he was like, I don't know, man, I think you know my style. Like, why don't you just take it up? And like, they'll pay you way more than you'd ever get paid as a producer. He's like, oh, fine. And he did it. And then he like went Kick-Ass and X-Men and what's his other big one? Kingsman,
yeah.
Right? Which so you look at Guy Ritchie's career, right? We talked about this off mic, but he was always in this like little auteur kind of Quentin Tarantino sort of thing where he was like doing his movies and getting appreciated by his fan base, but he never really broke into big budget. And then King Arthur was like his attempt to do that, and it was supposed to be like this multi-film franchise, and it just tanked. And so that's why I think he's like doing Aladdin, because he needs money. But I feel like he should have if Matthew Vaughn hadn't done Layer Cake, you would have had
that trajectory.
A Guy Ritchie X-Men. You would have had I bumped the mic, sorry.
Yeah,
Guy Ritchie doing the Kingsman movies. Like that would have been his like foray into like these huge budget movies.
And it's interesting too, thinking about Matthew Vaughn's career and where it's headed. I don't know what's next for Vaughn, but I can't lie, we were not a fan of Kingsman 2.
Kingsman 2.
We were not a fan of it.
I thought it was fine. That definitely doesn't hold a candle to the first one.
I mean, but to me, Matthew Vaughn has that thing that Guy Ritchie has, is that he made one movie that I will always respect. And for me, Kick-Ass is like the Matthew Vaughn movie that I will always look back on.
For me, it's X-Men First Class.
Well, X-Men First Class
that's my favorite X-Men movie.
He saved that franchise, right?
He really did.
He did. Yeah. Because it was like Last Stand kind of killed it, and then Wolverine
put the nail almost in the coffin.
Right. But he brought it back to life. And you definitely deserve credit for that, because now you see Logan getting a Best Screenplay nomination.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen with Dark Phoenix or New Mutants, but
we'll see. But he was supposed to do Futures Past, but he was doing Kingsman. So he couldn't. So Singer got it back. And say what you want about Singer.
Oh, no. Let's not.
Don't bring him up on this podcast. Ace is going to lose it.
I went on a rant about how I think Singer should be life in prison, if not worse.
He should be a monster.
Guantanamo Bay.
Still,
put him on Alcatraz.
Put him on Alcatraz. Like, Singer should not be a free man.
You took Kevin Spacey down. You can't take Singer.
Dude, you read that? Did you read that article from The Atlantic? Because I preached that article. I tweeted that shit out.
I probably. But.
Read that damn article. I'm telling you, man, that's the gospel right there. Because it really exposes him. And it has like something like, I think it was 50 witnesses.
Well, you've heard the
placing
whole,
him on like some really dark shit. And I was like,
so we have a coworker. You know, the whole like.
That's right. Okay, so I'll do it. I'll do it just because we.
You got to tell the
okay, so
story.
A guy who worked with a coworker of ours who worked with Bryan Singer basically confirmed that entire article. He told us stories about how Bryan Singer was really fucked up. He grabbed his ass. He grabbed his dick. He would have like orgy parties.
Yeah. He says like weird. Like he's had a weird life. He's had all these weird jobs, and he somehow got connected with this older gentleman who kind of used him as like escort's the wrong word, but more like companion. So he was like when he was like in his early 20s, he was like this young, attractive man, and he would like go out on dates with older gay men usually, and just be their arm candy. And
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and nothing sexual ever happened. The way tells it that option was on the table if he wanted it to. Yeah. But like he never did, and he made it very clear to the men, like, I'm not here for sex, I'm here to be your friend. Yeah. And one time this employer got him into a room. I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how far can we go, bro?
I don't know. Like invited him to a thing. He's like, hey, I got a client and he wants to meet you. And it was like and like a parade of like half a dozen other people that look like and someone was like him pointed to, and then the next day the guy called him. He's like, Bryan Singer. He was shooting. Was it Days of Future Past?
No, it was
Apocalypse.
X-Men 2.
It was. No, I think it was in the new universe.
Oh, it was Days of Future Past.
Yeah, because it was with Quicksilver. So
Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past. Shooting that in Toronto. He's like, this guy wants to fly to Toronto and just hang with him for the entire time he's shooting this movie.
Whoa.
And they didn't say Bryan Singer, and he got there, and it's Bryan Singer. And the entire time, Bryan Singer was a giant creep to him.
Yeah.
Not
And
just
like,
that, but like what witnessed. Like
Yeah,
he witnessed some.
and he was like
Crazy
in
dark shit.
a like harem of guys. It
Yeah.
wasn't just
Let's just say Bryan Singer deserves to be in prison.
right.
Go read that Atlantic article because it basically
And
talks
sorry,
about.
sorry for outing you.
I was gonna say what confirmed.
I keep trying to
He
blurt his
confirmed
name.
it to us with like, dude, yeah, this guy is like,
I convert his name.
like Bryan Singer would have crazy stuff go down.
But see, I told you about Kevin Spacey before Kevin Spacey.
You're right.
came.
You did tell me.
Because
That
I
was
know
like an
people in
open
film
secret.
school. But I knew people in film school who were like, yeah, I was an intern on House of Cards, and then like he fucking like. He was like, "Hey, I dropped my pen. Can you pick it up for me?" Like type shit. Like have the kid bend over.
Again, what a jail.
Yeah.
Either
wild,
way,
man.
let's talk about
Yeah,
one of my favorite. Well, I was gonna say, let's move on. Let's
yeah.
talk about because I can go off and I don't want to go off.
But Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes.
But yeah, but honestly speaking though, like this is one of my favorite movies, maybe of all time. Maybe I'm not sure.
Really?
But
Wow.
honestly, rewatching it. I
It's
watched
still a
it
lot of
last
fun.
night.
It's a lot of fun.
I mean,
First one is so good.
Did you see the Key and Peele? I sent you that Key and Peele sketch.
Yeah.
The ballet guys. You haven't seen it?
No,
Oh.
it's in my.
But when they were talking about what did they call him? RT squared?
Yeah.
Yo, RT squared though. And he's like slow motion and doing the Sherlock Holmes, and he's like, I can break him down, and he's just going off, dude. But yeah, that's a great scene. Like even that scene within itself. Like if you just
slow-mo.
show that
The
scene,
slow-mo bare
Yeah.
knuckle boxing
It's so
and
cool.
like that fight. I'm so glad he did it multiple times in that movie. And then we don't have to talk about it because it's kind of a mess. But the second one, unfortunately, was like a disaster.
yeah,
Like the script
too
was real
jumbled.
bad.
Nah,
the
yeah, that one
cast
was not good,
besides
yeah.
Jude Law and him weren't good. Whoever was playing the Moriarty guy was not a great.
Well, see
actor.
that was the thing. Like I didn't like the reason why I kind of fell back from this movie from seeing it so much in the past, recently, is because I was so dissatisfied by the Game
the
of
second one,
Shadows.
yeah. But that's so. I mean, for people who don't know, there's a bunch of sequences in the first movie where he like analyzes fights in his head, and it's like this slow motion, very Guy Ritchie style, where he's like, okay, punch jaw, dislocate shoulder, hit rib, and then he does the sequence in real time. In the Moriarty one of the only good scene of Game of Shadows, and I don't know if you remember this. Did you rewatch it?
I haven't rewatched this one.
Okay,
No.
so he's on a like balcony with Moriarty. And Moriarty's about to punch him or something, and he like does that, and he like you see the whole sequence, and you're expecting that, and then he goes like this to make the first move, and Moriarty goes. And he goes like, "You think you're the only one who does that?" And then Moriarty, and then there's this whole amazing fight sequence where they're both real time analyzing each other's moves, and it's so well done. And
I
it's
remember
like
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like the only good thing about that garbage movie.
Yeah. Well, that's. I mean, if I mean, that's the thing. Apparently, I mean, this is all coming from watching the Sherlock series on BBC. And I had to read one of the books for a film school class. The reason I got into the BBC series is because I was in a film school class, and we had to read the first book and then analyze how it compared to like the first episode of the show or whatever. But it was interesting knowing like this whole like slow down fight thing. That's kind of an adaptation of his in the new series. He has like this he has like a mind computer or whatever he calls like the Palace, and he goes into this thing where he sees like slow motion like news articles and shit like that.
Yeah.
So they adapt like his abilities in like different ways, but it's all in the same
so
DNA.
cool. I mean, Sherlock Holmes is one of the coolest fictional characters like of
Yeah,
all time.
for
It's
sure.
really
And
cool.
that's-
And,
and
it's one of the
there's
inspirations of Batman too.
Yeah.
So,
And they're supposedly making the third one now.
yeah,
I hope so,
I
yeah.
remember
Yeah,
that,
him and Jude Law are back. I don't know if Richie's attached, but they. I really hope he is.
It's
Yeah.
through
'Cause-
Robert Downey Jr.'s production company.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
that? Let's move on to King Arthur.
Yeah.
Because I got lots to
God.
say.
I
I saw-
underrated
So
movie.
I saw this
Go
movie
ahead.
with you and our other buddy who's another producer writer, Tom. And we went to see this movie, and we weren't really expecting much. We were like, whatever, it's getting bad reviews, but we'll still go see it. I mean, it looks like fun. We went to see it, and this movie obviously famously bombed to the core. Like $200 million budget, made 13 million opening weekend, and that's it pretty much.
Like 80 million total. Or
Yeah,
something.
like it's crazy how badly it bombed, but it was supposed to be like a trilogy, I believe, or like a
it was supposed
cinematic
to be
universe.
like, it was going to be like, we're gonna make these films till we die. They had like 4 on the slate.
And I gotta tell you, RB3,
Yeah,
it was such a cool movie. It's one of my favorite like movies of that year, and it barely missed my top 10 because I remember making my top 10 with you.
Yeah.
And the score is awesome. It's this weird like crazy over the top Guy Ritchie movie in a medieval setting, like in a fantasy medieval setting with like giant creatures with,
and it's like it runs, and I'm not a gamer. I think you are a bit, but it runs like a video game.
Yeah,
it like has distinct levels.
That's
and
I
meta bosses.
forgot about the boss, the final
and then like
boss.
a big
So
final
cool.
boss fight.
Yeah.
It's such a cool fight.
If you like video games, you should see this movie because
the score is. I gotta talk about the score.
Good.
It's so freaking good. It got nominated as one of the best scores on some of the outlets that I read on different articles. They were talking about the best scores of the year, and that was one of them, and 100% deserved because that score was like,
who does it?
I don't know, but it's such a good score, and they do like a combination of like the parkour scene where the breathing aspect of the score, where it's just a guy heavy breathing and just like crazy like metal music in the back. It's just so cool, dude. It's just one of the coolest movies I've seen.
I don't know who did the score for this one, but the Sherlock Holmes was nominated for best original score.
Oh, that's right.
For Hans Zimmer did the score for that one. But I think it might have been Junkie XL that might have done.
That's
the score for Kingsman. Let me check. I'm gonna check right now.
I was gonna say, but either way, I always go out of my way, and we were talking beforehand, to preach the gospel of King Arthur and talk about and correcting the wrongs of all the Rotten Tomato people, because it's like 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, something like that.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, I'm telling you guys, it got a bad rap, unnecessarily so, because I don't feel like people got the Guy Ritchie-ness out of it. If they realize, oh no, this is supposed to be an over the top King Arthur Guy Ritchie movie. It's not supposed to be like this grounded fantasy, like, oh, it's King Arthur and it's gritty. No, it's just crazy, ridiculous, over the top. Like Littlefinger is a bow and arrow expert.
Right.
What's his face? Digimon. I always call him Digimon. Digimon Hasu, the guy who played.
Oh
Desmond yeah. He's great in the movie. There's a scene where he like drops him off on a crazy island, and he's like, "You have to find the treasure. Now I must leave." And he takes off.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Just
Like
like
it's
a
a
video
really
game.
funny movie because it's like this dark humor that adds an element, and it has a lot of Guy Ritchie in it.
Well, and I think this was like this was like kind of positioned to be Guy Ritchie's like big budget break.
I mean, it's a $200 million movie,
and I think that like forced his hand into Aladdin. I don't know. I don't know who approached who to get him on, but like that was his thing. But it's also the bigger bummer is Charlie Hunnam, who's King Arthur. This was supposed to be his vehicle into like the mainstream.
It was shaky after Pacific Rim, man. It was shaky after Pacific Rim.
And he has not recovered. I mean, Guy Ritchie like now has.
Did you see Lost City of Z?
I did. It's so good.
It's so good. And
so
Charlie
good.
Hunnam,
That's on Amazon.
Same
right?
year.
Charlie Hunnam is a beast in that movie. So is Robert Pattinson, but
he's an
Charlie
amazing
Hunnam
actor, and then he's like just good looking. Like he's like he was supposed to be 50 Shades of Grey guy.
Yeah,
and then he didn't
he
get that.
Took that,
but
man.
he should have took that.
If he would have took that,
he like could have been the next Hemsworth or the next Evans. Like he was
and
there.
now he's getting to the point where he's a little old for. I think he's like 42,
and he also like got like he didn't take it real well. He was like, oh well. Clearly, people don't like big budget, so now he's only doing like little indie sleepers.
He was great in King Arthur. That movie is such a blast. Like it's a very fun, over the top movie. Right. The girl who plays like Merlin's assistant is great. Like she's just bringing in little creatures.
Got an amazing David Beckham
cameo. It's so funny.
Just like out of nowhere.
It's so funny. I don't know. I really dug this movie, and it's definitely one of my favorite Guy Ritchie movies. In considering that he has all these other crazy movies. But I kind of want to wrap things up just because we're going a little long.
Well, I was going to ask before we wrapped up on that one. So Sherlock Holmes, I really enjoyed Sherlock Holmes because it also had that it incorporated themes of like the Industrial Revolution and like the poor people, and like the setting was all like trashy. Do you think King Arthur kind of incorporated
100%.
A little bit of that?
It has
too,
a lot of commentary on the cruelty of leaders and of kings and what makes a good king, because that's the whole storyline with Jude Law.
Yeah,
and he's also over the top in this movie. But it's that whole element of like, what makes a good king, and is, you know, just because you're destined to be king doesn't mean you're worthy of it, because that's the whole King Arthur element, because King Arthur is another classic story. So you have to have some elements of it.
And he's also got this whole like, I don't want to be king, and then of course he like finds Excalibur, which like sends him on this journey, and that like initiates him and like deems him as king, and he's like, this is stupid, but if I get to fight monsters, like it's such a great movie.
Fucking what's her name? The girl from Little Mermaid makes a cameo in this movie.
I don't know.
Not Cruella. What's the lady's name? Ursula. Fucking Ursula's in this movie. Like, this movie's fucking crazy.
Live action
like
person.
Like with little octopus tentacles and like.
There's an octopus in this.
Yes. There's like a fucking
bananas movie.
It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. There's like a giant eagle that eats people. Like, it's just there's a giant snake. Like, it's a cool ass movie.
The final boss is like a lava monster.
The final boss is the coolest like video game fight I've ever seen. It's so cool because it's like this like apocalyptic like demon creature fighting on like this sinking. Oh, it's so freaking cool, man.
So people tell me it's like a crime movie. Is it like? They're like, we don't like it because it's a crime movie or something like that.
It's a fun, just
balls to the wall action.
To the wall fun movie, but either way, I kind of want to have our closing thoughts. My closing thoughts is kind of that, and I just really do feel like this guy has so much fun in every movie that he makes, and I really do feel like the first thing people notice in directors a lot of the time is camera movement and camera work, and obviously that's your collaboration with your DP. But a director does have a lot of say depending which director it is. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing that stands out for me with Guy Ritchie. It's just he has so much fun with the camera. That's kind of the thing I was kind of missing in Aladdin. You're right, it did have a little missing element.
It was polished,
it's a little stale when it comes to it. But I really do feel like I'm with you. I think that's Disney telling him to cool it.
Oh, sure.
And to be like, hey, don't make it too Guy Ritchie. This is our studio movie. But either way, I love Guy Ritchie. And I don't know if you have any final thoughts.
No, I agree. I mean, whereas, you know, I think a lot about, when I think about Guy Ritchie, I think a lot about Baz Luhrmann too. Baz Luhrmann has that very like over the top expressionist kind of style. But whereas Baz Luhrmann is more in the editing, that his films are a little more wacky. You know, his Guy Ritchie movies, even at very low budgets like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, the camera's always very active, it's always very fluent. And even in scenes where they're just having basic conversations, like the scene where they're just joking about the guns, like not, you know, guns being
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean that's just one of the funniest scenes. But it could have been a very static scene, but the camera is like handheld, and it kind of just in the way that the film is kind of shot, there's always spectacle to it. And I saw Aladdin in IMAX 3D, and I do gotta say, cool. I don't get to see a lot of movies in 3D too much anymore because, you know, a lot of people no, just I mean, I usually see them with you, or I see them with my buddies from school,
and I don't watch 3D.
But they don't watch 3D, so you don't watch 3D, so I usually don't see anything in 3D. But I saw Aladdin in 3D, and visually spectacular, man. I mean, holy shit, that movie looked great. Even amidst all the lack of style, it was very spectacular visually. So salute to him for that, and so salute to having style. I think is a big thing. I enjoy style in movies.
Yeah,
so.
I actually got duped into seeing Aladdin in 3D yesterday. Because it was just like, I was like, I'm gonna go to the 5 o'clock showtime. This is the most convenient. Like, why are the tickets so expensive? I guess this is just ArcLight, and they were like, no, it's 3D, and it was like a basically empty movie theater. It was like me and like 5 other people.
Cool.
But I liked Aladdin. Guy Ritchie as a whole, I don't think that is a good representation of him as a director.
No.
I think people should see Aladdin if you want to see Aladdin.
But go see other Guy Ritchie movies.
But like,
watch Snatch.
I think Snatch is a perfect movie from start to finish. It is on Netflix. You should watch it. I'd almost caution you watching it before watching any other Guy Ritchie movies, because it'll almost ruin other Guy Ritchie movies because it's so good and you expect so much more after you see it. But like, I of his like filmography, which we mostly went through, we didn't really talk about The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which was also
that's a good movie, great movie.
Go check that out.
A really good movie, also kind of positioned to be this huge franchise, and it didn't really go anywhere. So he's kind of had 2
TV adaptations.
Strikes. I never saw the Madonna movie.
Probably
don't need to.
Rock and Rolla, is that one?
Rock and Roller's real good. That kind of got like Gerard Butler on this, like, because it was like right around the same time he was shooting 300, so people didn't really know if he was going to be a huge star or like kind of take a back seat and be like a Jason Statham.
Right.
He ended up being a huge star, but I mean, Guy Ritchie makes, and I mean this as a non-reductive compliment, perfect boy movies. Like just like movies for like boys. And like that doesn't mean like
girls can't watch it.
enjoy, but like that's like the feeling you get.
It's
is
very
like,
masculine.
It's like really like masculine and tough and like almost innocent and honest and like it's just like that.
Yeah,
so
he's special, man. Alrighty,
he's a cool dude.
Go check out Guy Ritchie. Go check out Snatch. It's on Netflix. You got no excuse. So go do that right now.
And Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels on
Lock,
Netflix.
Stock, and both one Sherlock.
The first Sherlock Holmes is on Netflix. Yeah.
Second Sherlock is free on the internet because everything is free on the internet. So if you're really craving it.
Thank you, Rob, for coming by, man. We appreciate it.
Of course.
Next time we can have you on for someone else, maybe like an Oliver Stone, maybe.
We'll have some good conversations there before this.
I was gonna say politics.
We're
still
RB3
is
politics.
RB3 and I we're gonna launch our political YouTube channel where people can bash us in the comments. Either way, guys, thank you so much for listening to the Meaning Enough podcast. For the Meaning Enough podcast, I am Ace.
This is RB3,
and we are peacing out. Peace out, guys.